Hello everyone, this is Lam. Welcome to my channel and thank you for watching this video. Today is the part 2 of my alcohol ink experiment. I'm going to compare these 3 paintings. All of them are 11 by 14 inch canvas and they use the exact same colors. And they are also, all of them are my balloon roll flowers. See, these are the colors I use, not very many of them, much less than what I usually use, because I want to focus on the ink and see what different effects they make if I use them just slightly differently. And so, without further ado, let's go into the paintings. Now, painting number 1. This is the first one I did, and I really had no idea how to start, but I started by putting a white base coat down, and then I started adding some sailboat blue and passion purple and cranberry. Now right away I can see some trouble because the sailboat blue started making specks. It's hard to see, but if you look up close you can see the little specks. Now I add some 90% alcohol, 91% rubbing alcohol, and see how it diffuses the ink. And then I add the pink puddles. And I did the gold and red and work my way up to the purples and the blues. So just little petals, and I didn't know what to do with them. So I decided to smash them. Bad idea. You see what happened is making a big mess. So I do not recommend a mallet smash for this kind of application. I couldn't even tilt it out. See, the alcohol and the ink is making the paint kind of runny. So it's not at all pleasing. So I took out my balloon and started smashing it or rolling it. And it still looks very messy, so I decided to turn it around and do some more rolling. Now we are talking. Something is starting to emerge. But since the paint is very thin, because I only had one white base coat, and also the ink makes it so runny, so part of it is down to the bare canvas, so I am adding more colors, and then I am adding more white to it. And then at this point I decided to add some ink right on top and roll with the ink and see what happens. See? It looks good for now, but I'll show you what happens when it dries, and you can decide whether it's good or not. Okay, here I added some more color, some more ink, and rolled it. Yeah, so I keep roll away. And that's pretty much the whole painting process, is to create these balloon rolls. And I time-lapse this a lot because I have 3 paintings with the exact same technique, so if I let it go natural time, it's going to be too boring. So, yeah, I took out my cotton balls. So little details. But that's pretty much it. Now, if you look closely, you can see that some of the ink colors are starting to separate. Mostly the cranberry, it has an orangey, brownish base tone to it, and it's starting to show. And I'm going to show you what happened in a minute, how it dries. Here I'm just creating a center, kind of a little focal point, because for my flowers I always want a focal point at the center. Well, not exact center, but the focal point somewhere that indicates the focus of the flower. Okay, so that is the end, and I'm going to torch it. But is it going to go up in flames? I was really worried for a moment. So I'm just fixing details, but all the while I was thinking, should I torch or should I not torch? Oh, but what the heck, I torch it anyway. And I'm still alive. Now here is the dry product. Do you see what I mean? This is where I added the ink right on the balloon roll before I roll it. And now the ink, it forms this little specks and it kind of bleeds a little. And personally, I don't like it in a balloon roll, but that is an effect that maybe we can put it to use somewhere. It just, you see, I did it again in this roll. I added ink to it, and then now this happens. See, I don't think this works so well in the balloon roll, but it may work well somewhere else. Now I'm showing these brown spots. These are the cranberries, the cranberry ink that's separated into brown, and it just doesn't dry very attractively. And the alcohol ink dries a lot lighter than it's wet. So you need to take it into consideration when you start putting alcohol ink with your pour. So this is, now here comes painting number 2. And this one, I decided to do a white over color covering technique. So I flip cup my colors and then do white paint over it and just drizzle random lines. And then I right away started adding some ink on it before I tilt it out. And then I tilt. Now the ink here is very intense. So I added more alcohol to diffuse the colors. Now I take out my cup and started cupping. Yeah, this is time-lapse a lot. It's really fast, but the process video is in the full process is in my last video, so you can go back and watch it if you want to. And this one, I did a little cupping and then I started balloon rolling. And interestingly enough, in this balloon roll, I did not add any ink directly on balloon roll, but there is ink already on the canvas and they're very intense. However, when I roll them, they kind of mix in with the rest of the colors and there's not much ill effect. So I really like what goes on here. Right now, the colors are very intense. I mean the ink part, the colors are very intense, but bear in mind they're going to dry a lot lighter. So it takes some experiment to gauge how much it's going to lighten up when it dries and what kind of effect it will produce. Okay, so here I'm just adding some white. Oh, I actually added some ink there, but I think I took most of it out with the balloon. And as you can see, I am pretty much done with the center flower, just fixing little details. Just adding a little bit more colors here and there, adding definition. And And so far, I think this is my favorite balloon flower to this day. It kind of has an oriental peony look to it. And I love the effect of the ink. Now here's the dry result and the close-up of the dry. Look, this one dries beautifully. And there are some specks. This one I actually did not use any blue ink. I used passion purple and then I used magenta instead of the cranberry. The magenta is very pink, but it dries nicely. When after it dries, it's not as intense. The purple did produce some specks, which is kind of interesting in this case. And the magenta did not produce much specks at all. So on the whole, I think it's a good painting. The overall effect is nice. Now this says number 3. Again, I'm doing the same white over color covering technique. But this time I'm going to tilt it out first. I'm going to torch and tilt it out before I apply the ink. And also I'm using ink that is already diluted. I just put 4 to 7 drops of ink in a half-ounce bottle and then fill it with alcohol and use it that way. I'm trying to see if this time I can avoid getting those little specks of little dots. So this is diluted purple passion and this is diluted magenta. See the magenta? Okay, I'm actually using some diluted blue as well. And I'm adding more purple because and then I add more alcohol because the purple and the blue look very light diluted, but the magenta, even though it's diluted, it is still quite intense. Okay, I cup around a little bit and then do the balloons. Now this way, using the diluted inks, the colors are not very intense at all. And it actually produces a little bit of a fractal effect in some of the spots on the side. I'm not a big fractal dendrite person, but a little bit of that is okay. And if you look closely, you see a little bit of dendrite on the left edge there, but I don't think that's going to last because I'm probably going to balloon roll over it. And I don't know what happened. It depends on how I layer the cup. This time I get a lighter blue flower than I intended, but it's okay. And anywhere I don't like it, I just add more color and roll away. That's the beauty of the balloon roll flowers. When in doubt, add more paint and you can just roll over it. Now use cotton ball and fingers. And balloon again. It takes several tries for the flowers to emerge, but if you do it enough, you'll get there. And notice the ink in the background is looking lighter in color by the minute. But this way, it indeed avoided the specks. I did not get any of the little dots at all because the ink is already pre-diluted. So you are trading the intensity of the colors for the effect. And I've yet to see how it dries. Now I'm adding more ink because I think it's getting a little bit too light in color. Now the ink does make the acrylic paint a little runnier, and some of the color may seem to be like smudging together, or the gold, especially the gold there, if you look closely, it is at the verge of breaking up. So this is the dry result. I'm glad that there's no loss of detail, even though the alcohol tend to break up the acrylic paint a little, but the balloon rolls still hold the shape. But you can see the gold there, it is not as well defined as it usually is. And the alcohol ink effect of this is very, very light. You can barely see it. Okay, I'm doing a close-up to see the gold there. See, the gold was almost breaking up, but it didn't. So overall, it still looks nice, but I wish the ink will be a little bit stronger in color. See, this one is hard to tell. So next time I'm going to play with the ink to alcohol ratio to see how many drops of ink I can put in the alcohol to get the color but without the speck, and that will be interesting. So here are the 3 paintings featuring 3 different ways of using alcohol ink. What do you think? Which one do you like the best? I really like the last 2 paintings, but the first one maybe not so much. So I'm going to list the last 2 paintings in my Etsy shop, and the link to the shop is in my description box. The first one, I'm not going to sell it because I don't love it, and I am not going to sell anything that I don't love. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it and find it helpful. If you like it, please comment and subscribe. I appreciate all your support. Thank you very much. You have a great day, and I'll see you next time.